Shalom all, we are continuing Esther, the last 3 chapters, chapters 8 to 10, at the end of which you will see many of those living in Babylon, the non-Jews, also became Jews, and how they did that. Reading from Esther chapters 8 verse 1, Esther says to the Jews. Note verse 8, where a commandment given by the king cannot be reversed. And it's the same with God. His laws cannot be reversed. Of course, I'm not talking about the one where he made the sun to stand still for the sake of as a sign to King Hezekiah, I believe.
Chapter 8. On that day did the king Ahasuerus give the house of Haman, the Jews' enemy, unto Esther the queen. And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told what he was unto her. And the king took off his ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it unto Mordecai. And Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman. And Esther spake yet again before the king, and fell down at his feet, and besought him with tears to put away the mischief of Haman the Agagite, and his device that he had devised against the Jews. Then the king held out the golden scepter toward Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king, and said, If it please the king, and if I have found favor in his sight, and the thing seem right before the king, and I be pleasing in his eyes, let it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, which he wrote to destroy the Jews which are in all the king's provinces. For how can I endure to see the evil that shall come unto my people, or how can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred? Then the king Ahasuerus said unto Esther the queen, and to Mordecai the Jew, Behold, I have given Esther the house of Haman, and him they have hanged upon the gallows, because he laid his hand upon the Jews. Write ye also for the Jews, as it liketh you, in the king's name, and seal it with the king's ring. For the writing which is written in the king's name, and sealed with the king's ring, may no man reverse. Then were the king's scribes called at that time in the 3rd month, that is, the month Sivan, on the 23rd day thereof, and it was written according to all that Mordecai commanded unto the Jews, and to the lieutenants, and the deputies and rulers of the provinces which are from India unto Ethiopia, and 127 provinces, unto every province according to the writing thereof, and unto every people after their language, and to the Jews according to their writing, and according to their language. And he wrote in the king Ahasuerus' name, and sealed it with the king's ring, and sent letters by posts on horseback, and riders on mules, camels, and young dromedaries, wherein the king granted the Jews which were in every city to gather themselves together, and to stand for their life, to destroy, to slay, and to cause to perish all the power of the people and province that would assault them, both little ones and women, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. Upon one day in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, namely, upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar. The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, and that the Jews should be ready against that day to avenge themselves on their enemies.
Continuing from chapter 9.
Chapter 9. Now in the 12th month, that is, the month Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution, in the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, though it was turned to the contrary, that the Jews had rule over them that hated them, the Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, to lay hand on such as sought their hurt, and no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all people. And all the rulers of the provinces, and the lieutenants, and the deputies and officers of the king helped the Jews, because the fear of Mordecai fell upon them. For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces, for this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater.
Verse 14. And the king commanded it so to be done, and the decree was given at Shushan, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons. Jump into verse 19.
Therefore the Jews of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and of sending portions one to another. And Mordecai wrote these things, and sent letters unto all the Jews that were in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, both nigh and far, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar, and the 15th day of the same yearly, as the days wherein the Jews rested from their enemies, and the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy, and from mourning into a good day, that they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of sending portions one to another, and gifts to the poor. And the Jews undertook to do as they had begun, and as Mordecai had written unto them, because Haman the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast Pur, that is, the lot, to consume them and to destroy them. But when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letters that his wicked device, which he devised against the Jews, should return upon his own head, and that he and his son should be hanged on the gallows. Wherefore they called these days Purim, after the name of Pur. Therefore, for all the words of this letter, and of that which they had seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them, the Jews ordained, and took upon them, and upon their seed, and upon all such as joined themselves unto them, so as it should not fail, that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing, and according to their appointed time every year. And
moving on to the first 3 verses of chapter 10, the greatness of Mordecai.
Chapter 10. And the king Ahasuerus laid a tribute upon the land and upon the isles of the sea, and all the acts of his power and of his might, and the declaration of the greatness of Mordecai, whereunto the king advanced him, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Media and Persia? For Mordecai the Jew was next unto King Ahasuerus, and great among the Jews, and accepted of the multitude of his brethren, seeking the wealth of his people, and speaking peace to all his seed.
So note, in chapter 8, verse 8, a king's command cannot be reversed. It was the same reason why Daniel was thrown to the lions after the king was tricked to make a decree. If a king is so loyal to his commandments, would God be any less, i.e. make one and then simply change it? Were that the case, he would not have had to go through the trouble of sending his only begotten son to die. Simply cancel his laws and save his son. It is a pity Haman's sons got hanged for his deeds. We read similar in Kings and Chronicles. Purim, as you see, is not one of the feast days given by God in Leviticus 23. A very important point is that many people of the land became Jews, chapters 8, 17 and 9:27. How is this done? Did they go into the Hebrew woman's womb and be reborn? Another foolish theology is that God's laws are only for the Jews or Israel. Such teachers may have the elementary of what the Bible teaches about God's love, but they lack not knowing the basics for whom his laws are. The church I mentioned, but not by name yesterday, also uses Hosea chapters 2 verse 11 and Luke chapter 16 verse 16 as a reason not to keep God's commandments. How easy it is to deceive those looking for a reason to disobey, but are taught by those who are blind. Using Luke 16:16 as an example, doesn't mean something always stops when another comes. In other words, the verse says that the law was until John the Baptist. Did the covenant of the rainbow as given to Noah stop when the one of circumcision came via Abraham? Of course not. If the law was, quote, until John, as they interpret it, then we do not have to go to church or do anything but live our lives as we want, because there are no laws. We therefore do not need them to teach us or to preach to us if there are no laws to obey. One of their points is that his chosen people, Israel, have to keep his laws and get punished if they do not. But the heathen Gentiles do not have to keep them nor get punished if they break them. For example, if they commit sin. By now, if you have kept up with our daily studies, you should know that that is rubbish. 1 John chapter 3 verse 4. Whoever committeth sin transgresses also the law, for sin is transgression of the law. Verse 8. He that committeth sin is of the devil. Romans 6:23. For the wages of sin is death. 1 Corinthians chapter 15:56. The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law. Romans 3:31. Do we then make void the law through sin? God forbid. Yea, we establish the law. What then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law but under grace? God forbid. But if while we seek to be justified by Christ, we ourselves also are found sinners, is therefore Christ the minister of sin? God forbid. You should also remember the law existed from before the formation of the nation of Israel, i.e. Noah kept them and Abraham. Genesis 26 verse 5. Because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments and my statutes and my laws. That was God speaking about Abraham. So they were not a memorial for Israel's redemption from Egypt. So, to become a Jew in the sense of a person of God, not of the literal tribe of Judah, we simply do what they and Ruth did, accept their God of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob as your God and obey his commandments. Exodus chapter 12 verse 49. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. Numbers 15:16. One law and one manner shall be for you and for the stranger that sojourneth with you. Numbers 29. You shall have one law for him that sinneth through ignorance, both for him that is born among the children of Israel, and for the stranger that sojourns among you. Now, if you want to know who Israel is and to whom the law was given, i.e. a proper understanding of the verses used by the people who claim points as I just mentioned above, read an article titled Real Jews or Heirs of the Promise, Citizens of the Kingdom on the website www.forward2yahweh.com YAHWEH forward to Yahweh.com. You find it under the sermons page.